right as the music starts picking up. Advertisement. Because I forgot to turn my ad blocker on. Just keeps piling up. Thank you for renewing your membership, Jeremiah. Ugh. God. Hello. It's Thursday, right? I think it's Thursday. It is Thursday. Okay. Guys, I need to rant about something. I need to know an answer. And maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not. Is there a world where that thing ain't gross looking? That's the first question. Is there a world where that thing ain't gross looking? Looks like your average Twitch viewer. Average Hassan fan. Exhibit B. Is there any world where this thing which is armored in rust and has his fucking intestines hanging out is not gross? I'm polling the chat. This Slanesh handiwork? No, this is Nurgle. We can get to some Slanesh stuff. But basic idea, this is gross, disgusting, so on and so forth, creepy looking. Here's another one. This looks like something out of Hellraiser. Am I right? Steve Chozo throws in a couple bucks. Thank you. He says, I'd watch Double Zeta if it had a dub. It's worth watching it with subtitles. That's why I say don't try to make it second monitor content. It'll never work. That and it does deserve your attention. It's a very good story. It looks like something out of Hellraiser, right? Less gross, but still creepy. Creepy is the thing that we're gauging this on. Speaking of which, how about this guy? if I was to tell you that there was a universe that existed where there is a race of elves that skin people and turn them into living furniture and have a tendency to enslave and rape people. Be kind of grim, right? I think that would be fair to say. I think that would be fair to say. I think it would also be fair to say that, like any universe where there are Marines, soldiers, that are walking towards you, laughing, chanting about how all is dust, with their intestines hanging out, and all manner of bodily fluids that are excrement coming out of their armor. Like, it's that there's no universe where that's not fucking gross. And the fact that they can turn you into a goddamn zombie. These are just a couple examples. Obviously, some of the people in the chat know that I'm talking about 40K. This is all stuff from Warhammer 40,000. Then you start getting into Slaanesh. Okay, Stephen, we get it. Jesus. I don't like subtitles either. I'm just saying that Double Zeta is one show that's worth it. Calm the fuck down. Good lord, dude. Spam in the chat at this point. Wait, now we get into the Slaanesh. Slaanesh worship. Brain, thank you for renewing your membership. But yeah, this is one of the Emperor's children. And I'm glad Brain is here because he can back me up on some of this shit. But this is pretty fucking gross. This is pretty fucking twisted, to say the least. Oh, here's another good one. See if I can find a good image of it. I'm not able to find one. Oh, there's a pretty good one. Then we go to Tzeentch. Mr. Capuzzo in chat is memeing. Very funny. But I have a point to this, so just follow with me. Didn't Fulgrim become a giant snake? Giant snake man that looks really kind of creepy looking. But this is a Tzeentchian beast. A Mutalith Vortex beast, specifically. Fucking creepy looking. Then this is not the best photo. This is a Chaos Spawn. A Tzeentchian Chaos Spawn. Here's a better image of a different one. Looks like something from Trench Crusade. Well, Trench Crusade pulls a lot from 40k. A lot from it. But these things are fucking creepy. The reason that I bring this up is it ties into this. And this is my my gripe, and the reason I felt the need to start ranting today. I can tell when somebody is just regurgitating a YouTuber's opinion. And do you want to know why? It's usually because the opinion's fucking retarded, and I've seen other people regurgitate this fucking retarded opinion. Which is why I have this up here. When you try to tell me that there is nothing grimdark in Warhammer 40,000, I know that's not your opinion. I absolutely know that's not your opinion. Because you're not actually engaging with it at all. What you're doing is you're watching a YouTuber who also doesn't engage with it, ranting because he's upset about something, and he wants you to keep the super chats pouring in. And that's something that I am just so fucking tired of. I had somebody try to put a long ass comment in my Double Zeta review about how 40k isn't grimdark anymore. Like, what are we basing that on? Like, what have you read that shows that it isn't? What have you played that shows that it isn't? Like, are we assuming that all 40k is books like Brutal Cunnin or games like Blood Teeth and something? I forget the orc game. Boss probably knows it offhand. But are we assuming because those exist that there's no grimdark in this universe? Because you're an idiot if you think that's the case. See, Wargame, that's bullshit. That is absolute fucking bullshit. He says here, this is coming from someone who's been playing the miniatures game for 20 years. Codex is that, yes, Modern 40k lost its grimdark. You're full of shit. And you know you're full of shit. I don't believe a word you're saying. It has not lost its grimdark. You're clearly not reading the novels. You're clearly not engaging with the video games or anything like that. Shoot us blood and teeth. Thank you. You're clearly full of it. I don't think you believe a word of that. I think that was fed to you because something happened that upset you and you're not happy about it, so you're bullshitting people on what's actually within the fiction. That's a fucking lie. And you know it's a lie. It's obvious that the Drukhari didn't fucking go anywhere. Chaos didn't go anywhere. In fact, they're fucking everywhere now. They're a bigger threat than they ever have been. There's entire battlefields where people are getting their fucking heads ripped off by corn worshippers. There's entire planets that still fall to chaos and then get exterminated. Literally billions of lives dropped without a blink. There is not a world that isn't fucking grim. I'm sorry, dude. You're full of shit. Translation, WoW 40k is too mainstream now. That's basically what's going on. Thank you for the $2. Like, that's bullshit. If anything, what we have seen that there is a problem with lately in regards to 40k is not a lessening of grimdark. It's an increase in grimderp. The Codex for the Grey Knights being a good example of that. The Codex for the Black Templars being really good examples of that. Who's my favorite Primarch? Vulcan. Sorry, I'm in the midst of a rant warrior tier. But there is like one of the slogans of the Inquisition is still forgiveness is punishable by death. Like what? That's fucking grim. Nah, Alpha Mega, that's bullshit. No, they have not. You're not doing it either. You're listening to Arch or somebody and what they're saying. Like that's BS. The weird and goofy are being phased out. The orcs haven't gone anywhere. I mean, fuck. Read a more recent book. What was the name of the most recent Carcharodon's book? Void Exile. Void Exile is fucked up. The whole book is. It basically pulls from Tetsuo the Iron Man. Because it goes into the Dark Mechanicum. And the crazy shit they get up to. And it's fucking dark. There's no noble bright in it, except for like 1 or 2 moments in the book. It's dark as shit. I'm just simping. You're just retarded. It's not simping to point out the truth, dude. I don't have to lie about things on the internet to try to get attention like you're doing. You're full of it. It's objectively false. There are other people that are in this chat that will even tell you it's objectively false. You're clearly just full of it because you just want to be fucking miserable. You want to be this guy. You want to be this guy, is what you are. This is what you are. You're this pathetic asshole. You listen to Arch Warhammer and jerk off, more than likely. You're full of it. Absolutely full of it. There's grim shit in Space Marine 2. There's grim shit in well, they're doing a Dark Imperium game, and then the one prior to that in Rogue Trader, so on and so forth. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Fucking Melvin shit. Like, what the hell, dude? It's objectively, like, you're just fucking lying. You can sit there and call me a simp all day like an angry little bitch on the internet, but the fact of the matter is that I'm the one telling the truth. You're the one lying about it. And why? What do you get out of it? What do you get out of lying to people? More people just as fucking miserable as you? What are you, a goddamn virus instead of a human being? Is that the reason for your existence? Like, come on. Like, stop fucking lying about shit. Fucking Noble Bright, my ass. And it's a prime example of what I'm talking about, man. Like, actually, like, people that actually interact with these things actually know what's in them. I interact with a lot of stuff, a lot of fiction, and if there's one thing that I'm known for, it's being brutally honest about what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is not Noble Bright at all. Now, if we want to talk about things that some people find contentious in the current setting, there are things that I understand. But I'll be blunt about them. Femstodies, not that big of a deal. You want to know how many there are in the entire history of 40K? 3. Just 3. Noble Dark. Now you're changing your fucking stance already, because you're full of it. There's been 3 Femstodies. 3. One of them is a throwaway character that was basically trying to see during the trials to, see if the Imperial Palace was penetrable, if there's a way to get a nuke into the throne room. The other one was the one that showed up in the Tithes that nobody liked. And admittedly was like one of the biggest mistakes that they made when it came to trying to implement them. And 3, there's one that is in the Scouring books, who is just one of Gilliman's guards. That's it. 3 out of 10,000. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I give a shit about the Custodies that much. They're just kind of there. Like, how many interesting Custodies are there? It's 2. It's fucking 2. There's 2. That's pretty much it. There's just a couple of them. But the fact of the matter is that that's something that could have been integrated better, and honestly has backfired on them pretty spectacularly. And I would agree, was not implemented well. But acting as if it's some sort of a tonal shift is ridiculous. Steve Joseph makes a good point. He says the Orcs, Catachan, and Boltgun prove the goofier side is still alive and well. Pretty much. Does Kitten from GTS count? Sadly, no. But that sort of nonsense is just... I'm sorry. Like, there's not really that much of a tonal shift. It's still fucked up. What's my favorite? One is interesting, Valdor, kind of. Yeah, Constantine Valdor is basically the one that everybody thinks about. Like, the other one is Trajan Valoris. And he's got, like, what, one book that makes him super interesting? I think it's the one with, and I haven't read it yet, admittedly, that's my own fault. It's the one with, he's working with the Imperial Fists. After the Great Rift opened, the Minotaurs are part of it, too. It's the book where he sizes up the chapter master of the Minotaurs and isn't 100% sure if he'd be able to beat him or not. It's my favorite faction to play on the tabletop, though. Space Marines, because I'm basic, but specifically the Raven Guard. I really like the Raven Guard. Especially if you use them right. And you utilize the your deep strikes and your long range stuff properly. But so there's that. Vaults of Terra. Thank you, Damon. Still need to read that. But what's the other one? The other big one is like the advancement of technology. Yeah, King in Yellow stuff is fairly interesting. I'm in complete agreement. I'm curious as to how much stuff from the end of the end and the death is going to get into that, because one thing that I'm also curious about is the Emperor showing up in the part of him that is more present in the warp. Is that the Emperor? The Emperor? The one on the throne? Or is it the Star Child? It could be either or, you know, if you read Dark Imperium. That's really interesting to me. The Primaris is the other thing. I don't particularly consider that, like, noble bright, noble dark, really noble anything. If there's one thing that I find interesting about them, is more so the concept of the unnumbered suns and them trying to integrate into the societies, effectively, or the cultures of different Space Marine chapters. That was one of the interesting parts of in one of the side plots of Dark Imperium, was there was a sergeant in the Unnumbered Suns who got sent to the Nova Marines, who, you know, second founding chapter, but still have a different culture than the Ultramarines, you know, with the tattooing, and they're a bit more mission focused, a little bit more willing to be vicious than a lot of other Ultramarine successors. Not like Mortificators or whatever. Is it the Mortificators, I think? Not like them, but, you know, they kill an entire chapel full of civilians just for discovering them. And it's such a traumatic event that this same sergeant, because every major successful mission with the Nova Marines, they get a tattoo on their body to symbolize what had happened. But of course, you can't tattoo the mark of the ruinous powers on you, because it can actually affect you. So he instead gets a tattoo of one of the girls he had to kill, to remind himself about how far he has to go to complete the mission sometimes. It's a really sad scene, honestly, because you don't really know if his integration into the Nova Marines is really that great of a thing. It's kind of left in the eye of the beholder. I really like the Dark Imperium, if you can't tell. And I'm sorry I was so brutal earlier, dude. It's just one of those things where I can understand disliking some of the things that are going on within the current narrative, but I feel that acting as if it's not dark anymore is, it's sort of like saying that Berserk stopped being dark because of the Fantasia arc, or Berserk stopped being dark because of the Millennium Falcon arc. It's not really true. It's just as fucked up. It's just more what I would call more able to balance itself out, and it's trying to move the narrative forward, which I'm a fan of. I just really wish that they were a bit more, how do I put this, careful with how they interweave these things, you know? Is the Farside Enclave playable on the tabletop? I think that, well, Farsight has a model. However, the nine, the dudes that are his like coterie or whatever you want to call it, his companions, I don't think they do not have their own models, but you can always like kit bash and make your own, you know. Um, the thing for me is that I'm a fan of the narrative moving forward. It's not that other how do I put this? That it's not as if there weren't interesting stories that were told prior to the opening of the Great Rift. Hell's Reach is a really good example. I just finished the Hunt for the Hunt for Voldorius not too long ago, which was pretty good. It's not incredible, but it's a good like White Scars story, you know. Not as good as the book Scars, which I've just started recently. But it's still good. It's bolter porn, as some people would call it. So you kind of go in with your expectations being that, but the one thing that I enjoy about it is I really like some of the most compelling characters within the setting are the Primarchs. And I like the idea of them returning. I like the idea of them coming into conflict with who they had to be during the Great Crusade. And that's a chunk of like what Gilliman and the Lion are going through. Like Son of the Forest does a really good job of kind of giving the Lion a bit of depth, learning from his mistakes and realizing that, you know, he fucked up. But now he has the chance to set things right. And the same thing with Gilliman. You know, he looks at the Imperium and thinks of the original vision, and it's so different and so disturbing to him that he wants to make it better, but at the same time he's limited by the powers that be within the universe. And that to me is really, really interesting, and I want to see them kind of bring in more of that. Big issues: inconsistent writing, doing dumb shit like Fulgrim painting retcon, or the Mortarian heart nonsense. I would agree with that, and now we start to see where I actually have agreements. But from what I understand, the Mortarian thing was prior to the Great Rift, if I remember right. I could be wrong there. That's Matt Ward. Like that's Matt Ward. Let's be blunt. That's a Matt Ward problem. The Fulgrim thing I need to read more into. Let's see here. Do I think the Evangelion rebuilds are overhated to hell and back? I've never looked into what people think about them, to be honest. So I can't really answer the question. I'm sorry. Found in the modern lore very mixed. Some who were teen years reading stuff like the Blood Quest graphic novels, 3rd edition to modern stuff. 3rd through 6. Well, and that's the thing. I think that, oddly enough, Alpha does, like, the big thing, one of the big things is inconsistency. The Black Templars Codex supplement is a really good thing. Live from the Black Library, Chrono did a really good video on it. Because like, for those who don't know, I really like the Black Templars. Not my favorite chapter, but they're one of them. Them creating these new crusades that are just grimderp as fuck, and having Grimaldus kill his own servants in a fight with the Word Bearers on his ship with, like, cosmic Drano. It's fucking stupid. That's not what Grimaldus would do. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know? And then, God, don't get me started on the Terminus Decree. And that's sort of like where some of the big problems start to arise. Is there really needs to be a vision for these going forward. Like, I personally don't like having anybody but Aaron Dembski Bowden touch the Black Templars. You know? Really should divide certain factions to certain authors, keep ADB away from the Emperor since he hates him. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, ADB does a lot of really good chaos stuff. He's the reason that Abaddon went from being kind of a joke character to somebody you take more seriously. He really fleshed out the Black Legion in a really interesting way. And then, of course, really did a great job of showing the Night Lords for what they are, you know? Primaris Marines were a disaster. I am not against the Primaris Marines. This is where I break rank with a lot of people. I hate the idea of the Imperium never advancing ever. And the fact of the matter is that the instant that they decided to bring back the Primarchs, advancement was going to happen. It was inevitable. What a lot of people don't like is Belisarius' call. Well, he's very divisive. I can kind of understand why. The one thing I say is this. I understand people don't like the idea of the Emperor passing on the role of continuing to develop Space Marine technology and Space Marines. You know, I understand that. I'm not against it, because it took him 10,000 years to do what the Emperor did in a much shorter amount of time. I think that time frame gives some space to the idea that the Emperor, you know, put it into the mind of somebody who could possibly pull this off, but it's going to take him a while. A long fucking while, to say the least. And I like Call as a character. He's really interesting. But I think that I feel like the gap in time makes sense. Now, the reason that they were implemented is they just wanted to make bigger model kits for Space Marines. That's basically it. And give them an excuse to give them 2 wounds. But then they gave all the heretics 2 wounds too, so it's like, you know. Certain Space Marine chapters should not have Primaris Marines. Well, they all got Primaris reinforcements, though. Like, that's what the Unnumbered Sons were. You know, they, after, at the end of the Indomitus Crusade, they were sent out to all of their parent chapters. So, and then their successors if the parent chapter isn't any room for them. Call works for Gilliman, not the Emperor. There's more to it than that, but yes, he primarily works for Gilliman right now. And some should be very anti-Primaris for heretical reasons. Some were. The Black Templars, specifically. That's in one of the Dawn of Fire books, where one of the Black Templar Crusades killed a custodian and the Primaris reinforcements that he brought and tried to cover it up. But that was the reason that they did it. And I have no reason to think that, like, 10,000, like, in 10,000 years, Belisarius Cawl can't figure out how to integrate the Canis Helix, you know? And then, of course, with the culture, there's actually a clash in one of the more recent books where one of the Space Wolves, because these new Space Wolves, these Primaris, did not go through the trial of Mordecai, there's a conflict between them and the Firstborn that has to get resolved. So it's not like these things don't, like, have a point where, like, there is a narrative that gets there. Because ultimately, most Space Marines are going to look at an upgrade and say, this is an upgrade? Let's do it. You know? Call irks me because he's a MacGuffin. GW just uses him as an excuse to do certain things. Well, here's the thing. This is one thing that comes with reading a lot of fiction and getting older. We all start to recognize the narrative devices. It's just an inevitability of interacting with any sort of fiction long term. There's MacGuffins all over 40k. In some ways, the Emperor can be a MacGuffin. Like, in some ways, he can be a Deus Ex Machina, depending on how you look at it. Personally, I don't... There was a time where I was, like, really cynical about such things. Then I kind of grew out of, is not really the right phase. It's happened when I was an adult. I kind of tossed that phase out. Because I wanted to enjoy the narrative for what it was. You know? Is there any 40k novels that were infamously bad? It's either described so bad it's good or so bad it divided the fandom. There's ones that divide the fandom. There's one that's really bad. I forget the name of it. It's a Death Watch book where, like, Lilith Hesperax has, like, a Slanesh demon lover. It's really weird. But I feel like the codexes are more dividing than anything these days. Also, why have issues the cult of the Emperor being so powerful when plenty of figures more clout? Would not agree to that. Isn't that right, Gilliman? Well, that's the thing, though. The thing about the Imperial cult is that not only is the Imperial cult big, the biggest Space Marine chapter in the universe is part of the Imperial cult in the Black Templars. Then you have the Chamber Militant. There are substantial elements of the Inquisition that are part of the Imperial cult as well. Like, that's like the Ordo Hereticus, just in general. The Sisters. Like that, there's a substantial military element, and then on top of that, the popularity of the faith within the Imperium is something that Gilliman can't ignore. If he were to start to, and he brings this up in Dark Imperium, I'm coming back to that a lot, but it's right now it's the quintessential 40K Gilliman book or books. He's completely aware that if he were to start dissolving the ecclesiarchy, he would get rid of one of his biggest tools. And it might cause a civil war. Can't really risk that when the galaxy's been torn in half. You know? It's one of those things where, like, you can kind of relate to Gilliman and just, like, effectively what happens. Like, think of it from his perspective. He is in a fight with his brother. He loses. Has to get teleported off of Fulgrim's ship. Is put in stasis for 10,000 years. Then when he wakes up, there's a fight going on in front of him. He's in new armor, and he's got Daddy's sword. And then after that fight is over, he starts to take the measure of things, realizes that everything that he worked for didn't happen. Like that, ugh. Man, I feel for him. I really do. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I really like Gilliman as a character. Like, the Ultramarines are at a point where I feel like they have become and are becoming so much more fun than they used to be. Like, the bright shining spot for a long time with the Ultramarines was Uriel Ventress, right? The Uriel Ventress books. The problem was Cato. Nobody liked Cato. Cato Sicarius was fucking terrible. Until Damnos Crusade, where he finally took an L. Funnily enough, written by Nick Kime, the guy that a bunch of people don't like because they don't like his Salamanders books, which I can understand. I'm not a big fan of them either because they're very dry. Have I read Lords of Silence? I have not read Lords of Silence yet. It's on my reading list. Yeah, Warrior Coven by C.S. Goto. Damon's got my back today. But the Smurfs, the Smurfs are getting better. Titus was the injection in their arm that they needed. Honestly, he was when he first was introduced. He still is now. He really is. He's kind of like, in some ways, like him and Calgar are the Ultramarines Ultramarine. They're more like their dad than someone like Cato is. Same thing with Uriel Ventress. They're more like Gilliman than some other people that are within in the Legion. Titus becoming the captain of the Second Company again is awesome. I'm super stoked about that. I won't lie, I'm gonna buy that Titus miniature when it comes out. I'm looking forward to starting to paint miniatures. And then Malum Kaido as well, assuming he's still alive after the Great Rift is opened. Which, by the way, I don't know why, I find it hilarious that the girl that they cast to voice the Sister of Battle in Bolt Gun 2 is the woman who is dating the voice actor for Malum Kaido. I don't remember if they're hitched or if they're just in a relationship, but I thought that was kind of funny. But I'm hoping Kaido is still alive after the Great Rift. I really hope so. I mean, it's possible. He's First Legion, or not First Legion, First Company. He's obviously very good at what he does. Ultramarines view Kaido the same way as much of the fan base. Just get out of his way. Calgar single-handedly beating one of those avatars of Cain struck a nerve with the fan base back then. Yeah, but avatars of Cain are kind of jobbers, let's be honest. I'm not Pancreas No Work, so I don't care about the fucking Eldar. But yeah, I'm hoping that we have more of that. But the Ultramarines are starting to become a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. The one thing I'm bummed out about, we lost Chiron. Chiron's dead. I saw that, I'm like, fuck! Really? Why? Chiron was a total bro. He was awesome. I loved that character. I'm like legit upset. I'm praying. I don't care about Captain Acheran. I really don't. But I just I'm hoping he gets turned into a dreadnought. I really want him to get turned into a dreadnought. And not only that, I want him to get turned into a Brutalis dreadnought. I think it would be very fitting for him. Just want one good Alpha Legion book like Legion. I have the feeling like Legion is the qualifier there, Alpha. Because I hear Shroud of Night is really good. But it's really good in the sense that it is a comedy of errors book. You know, it's fun. It's a fun read. Because it's just like these 3 Alpha Legion guys who have been in the warp for 10,000 fucking years are like, oh god, what the fuck? Anthony Gamergaburp is spreading that the Texas is banning anime bullshit. Like right now? It's been months. Is this a now thing, Den, or is it something he's done before? Thank you for the $5, by the way. Shroud was a solid 7. I've heard a lot of fun things about it. I want to read it at some point. I thought I read the excerpt about their reaction to Primaris Marines. Like, how the fuck did they get bigger? Also, I actually grabbed something that I'm going to need for whenever I do start doing miniatures. Focus. Here we go. This will come in handy. It's a few weeks ago. I don't know if I really want to retread that, to be honest with you. I kind of feel like it's been so thoroughly debunked that I don't understand why it's being brought up. Like it's kind of like I think going back to this real quick, part of the reason that whole thing frustrated me is because people don't understand what a government ban actually does. Brainbox for $10. And Steven Chozo for 2. I'm going to read Steve's real quick. Chiron dies, yet Leandros is still alive, for fuck's sake. I know, right? Like, why couldn't Leandros die? But $10 said, can't lie, I've cooled towards 40k, not the changes themselves like Chiron dying, but rather the lack of care, all the subtlety of a 45 to my skull. GW needs to do better with that. That I could agree with. I think that there's some things that they do really well, and then sometimes they just kind of, something gets like, they either rush it or something along those lines. I think that, I'm hoping that they get better with it. Alex, for another $2, says, much love for the channel. The Emperor protects. Thank you, brother. Never listened to Gmurgburp. He said the bugs in Starship Troopers were good guys and didn't know they enslaved the skinnies. Guy is a hack. Well, he doesn't read. I don't think he knows how to. Yeah, Leandros, the goat of pissing me off. There was an image I put in my Discord server that perfectly encapsulates my feelings on Leandros. Here it is. That's how I feel. Like, maybe it's a Grimaldus thing. Like, Grimaldus has spoiled us all on chaplains. Because he's so good at it. Because he's awesome. He really is a fantastic character. Chiron was to die, he should have gone out in a blaze of glory on screen. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. I honestly was kind of hoping when they announced that Titus was going to be the captain again. Because for those who don't know, the story of Space Marine 2 is actually still ongoing. The co-op mode is still telling a story about them dealing with the cleanup of the Tyranids and the cleanup of the Thousand Suns. Apparently the next update comes out in 12 days, which I'm stoked for because it's the Salamanders update. And some of the customization stuff for the Salamanders is really good. The helmet sucks, but the rest of it's good. But my brain had just kind of blanked on me. Sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Chaplains, Grimaldus. But just like I feel like Grimaldus is like the man. Like he's kind of like the chaplain that all chaplains kind of should aspire to. So when you get a bad one, you're like, why couldn't you be like Grimaldus, you fuck? But anyway, on Chiron, I was hoping that what was gonna happen is they were going to just say between Space Marine 2 and 500 Worlds is when this happens, and they basically say, but you'll have to keep playing Space Marine 2 to see what their fate is. So that's kind of my frustration, because I would have loved to have played their Last Stand, honestly. I would have loved for that to have been a mission that you could play. But I guess because it's to a Gene Stealer cult instead of just straight up Tyranids, they didn't do it that way, which to me is a bummer, honestly. But who knows? Maybe that's what Space Marine 3 will open with, you know? We'll see what happens. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer. You know, kind of a bummer. Because, yeah, Chiron was a great character. I can't think of anybody who played Space Marine 2 that didn't like him. Honestly, because the one everybody didn't like was Gadriel. but he got better, you know. But at first, Gadriel's kind of a nosy little shit. But, not that Titus is really helping matters. Oh God, Emperor, by your non-existent testicles, please let us in Minecraft Leandros in Space Marine 3. I have a theory. I think that Space Marine 3, our enemies, are going to be the Necrons and the Emperor's children. I think Gilliman's going to show up at some point. I have an idea for that. I am of the opinion, as a throwback to the original game, Mark Strong should voice Gilliman. I think that would be really neat. But, that's just my 2 cents, though. But, I also want it to be a story that includes more chapters, outside of Ultramarine successors. If it takes place within, like, if it's like a continuation of the 500 Worlds campaign, in a sense, then it won't be, sadly. Because the chapters that are helping out with the Ultramar sector are, like, the Sides of the Emperor, the Nova Marines, the Aurora chapter, the Genesis chapter, the Doom Eagles, so on and so forth. So, I don't think that'll be the case, but I would hope that they would. I would love to see... Obviously, I'm biased. You know, I would love to see the Raven Guard and the Salamanders show up. Because, first off, Caven Shrike, he's the fucking man. Ethan Sean's pretty cool too, but Caven's the man. Also, I would like for them to do, like, a canon, like, model for Pelis Mirsan, who was, like, the unsung dude of the Salamanders, you know? Regimania, thank you for 3 months, as I'm thoroughly enjoying the rant. I'm just kind of just pouring my brain out at this point. But yeah, Pelis Mirsan is, like, one of the most unsung members of the Salamanders. Everybody talks about Adrax Agatone. You think Saber has the balls to show us bare Slanesh titties if the EC show up? I don't think they will. I think that the models will probably be similar, of, like, the Daemonettes and stuff, will probably be similar to how they look in Total Warhammer 3. In my opinion, like, if you were going to start having nudity and stuff, I feel like the Drukhari are kind of the faction you go with for that, personally. Because, like, the interplay of sex and violence for them is such a... It obviously is for Slanesh, too. But for them, it's a little different. For them, it's even more depraved, which is saying something. Space Marine 3 should have multiple chapters cameo, both sides. Yeah, I'm in agreement. Like, here's my wish list of who I would like to see. Tyberos, or just the Carcharodons in general. If not Tyberos, then the Reaper Prime and the third company of the Carcharodons. I'd like to see the Salamanders, which Pelis Mirsan, he's second company. The one thing I really like about Pelis Mirsan, he also has a flaming sword. That he's killed, like, orc war bosses with and, like, made very short work of them. He's very, very, very talented. I mean, he earned the respect of the Minotaurs during the Bad Ab War. Like, holy fuck. That's a scary dude. The Raven Guard, I would really like to see. Just because I fucking love the Raven Guard so much. And then a fourth one. The Templars are kind of obvious. The Space Wolves are kind of obvious. Just because I'm interested to see what the interplay between Titus and Ragnar Blackmane would be. And then of course, if you're doing Emperor's Children, one of the boss fights has to be Lucius. Has to be. And then you got to have Fabulous Bill in there, Fabius Bile. That would be dope too. I don't know how you would do a Fabius Bile boss fight. And then of course, if you're gonna have the Necrons in there, you gotta have Trazyn. You know, either Trazyn or Emotech. What about the Raptors? Love the Raptors. Not my favorite Ravengard successor. That goes to the Carcharodons, but I do like them. Speaking of Emperor's Children, got to do something with Clone Grim eventually. I thought he was just chilling in Trazyn's vault at this point. Or was that the Horus one? I forget. There's so much. Sean fought a Godside Ultramarines during the Bloodborne invasion of Ultramar. Helped save Calth, then Calgar on Talasar. Ethan Shaw's also a pretty bad mofo. He showed scouts how to sneak. Hell yeah. Lamented? Oh, you mean Lamenters. Thank you, Dan, for the $2. They have history of the Smurfs. Lamenters would be cool, too. I feel bad for the Lamenters right now, because they're the Lamenters. I love them, don't get me wrong. They're my favorite Blood Angel successor. Brain is in the chat. He can verify the instant that the Blood Angel cosmetics came out, half of my dudes were Lamenters. I love them. They're great. But a lot of the Lamenters, because they were reinforced with just Blood Angels, or just effectively Blood Angels, now they have a death company. They didn't have to have that before. So that's I feel bad for them, because that's a whole nother can of worms that they got to deal with, because they don't have to deal with the Red Thirst. They don't have to deal with the Black Rage. Now they have a death company. Like, that's also, I find it funny that a bunch of the Unnumbered Sons went to the fucking Flesh Terrors, and then went to join the Death Watch's Black Shields, because Gabriel Seth fucking sucks. Sorry, I fucking hate him. I hate Gabriel Seth with a fiery passion. He's terrible. Terrible! Like, one of the worst. In regards to... Okay, let me say this. I'm not speaking about him as a character. Speaking about him as a military leader. As a military leader, he sucks. He's inept in many ways. To the point where his own men have tried to kill him. I feel like you could do something interesting with the chapter. But I don't think that they're ever going to get rid of Gabriel Seth, because he has a following. He had a mini on the tabletop at one point. So, I really don't like... As a military leader, I can't stand him. Drives me absolutely fucking nuts. Not to mention, I'm sorry. Calling Malachim Foros a coward... The same Malachim Foros that during the Badab War, if I remember right, actually managed to survive a fight with the chapter master of the fucking Minotaurs and earned his respect. Because if I remember right, when they were sentenced to their penitent crusade, the Minotaur spoke on the Lamenters as courage. And that was part of the factor as to why they were allowed to go on a penitent crusade along with the Mantis Lords. But and I'm a Lamenter stan. The idea of the Lamenters being cowards is nuts. The fact that they're even alive, like, dude, the fact that they still exist after everything they've gone through. Like, they are legitimately one of the most, and I say this with no irony, the Lamenters are legitimately one of the most badass chapters in the setting. They are impeccable at what they do. They are more self-sacrificing in some ways than the Salamanders. And they also find a way to make it work. You know, like that's what I like about them. That's why Calgar respects them so much. Like, they literally pulled off the impossible, not just because they were skilled, because they had the mentality of, we have to do this because it's the right thing, and we don't care if we die trying, because it's the right thing to do. To me, like, I feel that a lot of characters in 40k have two sides to them. Sanguinius is one that definitely had that, where he had a darkness to him. And I feel like the darkness is sort of emblematic in some of the chapters of that are successors to the Blood Angels, the Flesh Terrors being a good example. But obviously the best example is Mephiston, because that part of Sanguinius' soul is inside of him. The Lamenters represent Sanguinius' goodness. They reflect that. And that's why I like them so much, because Sanguinius is an amazing character. Virgin Gabriel Seth versus Chad Gabriel Angelos. Thank you for the $2. And yes, Gabriel Angelos is awesome. He's a great chapter master. That's another one I wouldn't mind showing up in Space Marine 3, is Gabriel Angelos. Are they more unfortunate than the Celestial Lions, though? Probably not. The Inquisition's still gunning after them. They lost in the book Spear of the Emperor. The Inquisition assassinated their chapter master, the one that fought with Grimaldus and lost 3 of his limbs. His Primaris their Primaris reinforcements disappeared, but they do still have their recruiting world, and they still have the ability to make more. It's just, Ekene Dubaku. Demon is so great when it comes to my nominal aphasia, because I'm bad with names, so I'll forget things. So it's so helpful to me. But God, I love the Celestial Lions too. They're great. Next Space Marine game will release in November 15th to 40,000. Oh, God. Somebody put me in cryostasis. But yeah, that's one thing that I dig about it, though, is the Lamenters represent aspects of Sanguinius. And a lot of ways, different successor chapters are like that. There are successor chapters that are emblematic of the rage of Rabute Gilliman. I think the Mortificators are a good example of that. And then you have, other chapters that are more on the, strategic side to it. Uriel Ventress is a really good example of that. And with Dorn, you know, like Dorn has two sides to him too. Dorn can be really nice when he needs to be. He just says, don't look to a Space Marine necessarily for kindness, because that's not their priority. Their priority is to complete the mission because they're soldiers. But he's capable of kindness, and that part of Dorn is, you know, in the Crimson Fists. And then, of course, the Black Templars are his anger. You know, his fury. And Sigismund, fuck. It's so fucking great. 2345Z has been asking this. I'm sorry I haven't been able to get to it yet. How popular would 40K have been if Blizzard was given the yes by GW to make the RTS game for them instead of what we have now with StarCraft? I am of the opinion that it would have gone mainstream a lot faster had they done it. Honestly, because we inevitably did get a version of a 40K StarCraft in the first Dawn of War, and it was effectively the game that started to really increase the increase the popularity of 40K. And then of course Space Marine 2 is like what strapped a fucking rocket to it. Or Space Marine 1 rather strapped a fucking rocket to it. Because that was one of the best games of 2011 in a year that was packed to the fucking gills with really good video games. Is Dorn confirmed dead or no? Not confirmed. There is this thing that goes on. I don't know if every Imperial Fist successor does it. The Crimson Fists do. And the Imperial Fists do. There is a ceremony that they do every year where, because several of them have like vials of Dorn's blood where it's always frozen. But during this one day of the year, which is like a big holiday for them, it becomes a liquid again. And they take that as a sign that somewhere he is still alive. I'm of the opinion that Khorne got his hands on him again. And he put him in that maze again from the Horus Heresy. Because that was a big part of the End of the Death. Is that the meme is that he willed his way out of a cornate labyrinth through the power of space autism, which isn't really the case. He just is so fucking mentally strong that he managed to, get out of it. Rogel Dorn would be an amazing Green Lantern. He'd be amazing. Do the Fists still have a ritual poop eating ceremony? I'm pretty sure that got retconned a long time ago. Working on Loyalist World Eaters for Horus Heresy right now. Nice. That's one thing I would really like to see. Because you know how we've got chapters coming back that are successor chapters that we're mostly pretty sure is just Call combining the gene seed of a traitor with a loyalist to try to get some mileage out of it. Because I'm pretty sure he's working off of the stores that Nikona Sherokin got during the heresy, isn't he? Because Sherokin managed to get a ship with gene seed from every Primarch, including the missing ones. But, oh, fuck. Oh, that was a neck pop, and that felt good. But anywho. God, my thoughts are just kind of all over the place this evening. But yeah, there's certain chapters that make you kind of like wonder. Like you've got the Sons of the Phoenix. Sons of the Phoenix. Like a Phoenician? Like a fucking snake guy? Like it's the Emperor's Children. The Covenant of Fire. It's the Word Bearers. But they're also, but he's like, I'm my theory is he's using the gene seed of mentally stable Primarchs to balance out the more nefarious elements of other chapters. I want to know if there is a newer chapter that is basically the World Eaters. Because let's say World Eaters and, well, I'll say this right now. World Eaters and Vulcan, like Angron and Vulcan gene seed, that's fucking terrifying. Sadly, the Sons of the Phoenix were confirmed by the dude who made them legit be Imperial Fists. Fuck. I can be retconned. But like that's something I would like to see, honestly, because Angron is one of the biggest what ifs. You know, like what if he found a way to remove the butcher's nails? How different would he be? Because with his abilities, and he was supposed to be an empath, I'm of the opinion he'd have been more like Corvus or Vulcan. Wasn't the cursed founding heavily hinted to be made from Traitor Seed? Altered versions of Loyalist, but some are hybridized. For example, it is thought that some members of the Carcharodons have hybridized gene seed. They hint at it, and then what would make the most sense for the Carcharodons would be the World Eaters. That's Corvus's gene seed along with Angron's, which is a hell of a combination. Though they're not from the Cursed Founding, they're from the Unknown Founding. But the Lamenters are Cursed Founding, and they have the Super Depression because they don't have the Red Thirst of the Black Rage to deal with. Who else was Cursed Founding? God, I'm having a hard time remembering. The Black Dragons. Black Dragons were Cursed Founding. And they're just considered to be sons of Vulcan, but they tried tampering with the gene seed, and then now they're Baraka. And you know, Blood Ravens? I thought the Blood Ravens were Unknown Founding. Yeah, the Firehawks are a really good example because they burst into flame. Yeah, the Silver Skulls are another one that I... And on top of that, apparently the Minotaurs are meant to be sons of Perturabo. Which I would buy that 100%. Like that fits almost too well. Which I stand Perturabo. I won't lie. I really like Perturabo. He's probably my favorite trader Primarch. Largely because he's so competent. I feel kind of bad for him. He's like, his whole life is greet the new boss same as the old boss. I've heard that the Marines Malevolent might be sons of Peter Turbo. Yeah, they would make sense too. They would absolutely make sense as sons of Perturabo. Granted, not all Iron Warriors were assholes. I mean, Barabas Antioch. Though he's kind of the exception to the rule. Granted, I kind of feel like because Barabas D'Antioch was so much like Perturabo, that's the reason he turned on him. Is because he hit a tipping point of like, this is bullshit. Which that's what I like about him, is just the point where good old Peter Turbo just gets to a moment where he's like, you know what, this is fucking stupid. We're done with this. We're moving on to something else, and I'm gonna fix this bullshit. I fucking love it. The Iron Warriors are a scary fighting force. Very, very. I feel like they're kind of undersold. Largely because right now the most popular traders on the tabletop, to my recollection, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, right now it's the Death Guard. And Perturabo doesn't have any representation on 40k. The Iron Warriors don't. Like, you can paint Chaos Marines like Iron Warriors, but that's about it. There's no, like, Iron Warriors specific units that are on the tabletop right now in 40k. 30k, they have some really good miniatures. Like, they're one of like a lot of people really like them in Horus Heresy. And if you look at their miniature lineup, you can kind of understand why. Like, they're a hell of a fighting force. All my friends are dickheads too. By the way, is Lolly streaming tonight? It's Thursday. He should be. I've been up since 5 in the morning, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to be awake. Bibbity, bibbity, bibbity. God, I have so many channels that I am subscribed to that like barely ever upload anymore. Why am I not seeing Lolly's channel here? Bleh. Oh, it's right there. He doesn't have anything scheduled yet. Games Workshop have been using Nurgle more and more now. Yeah, and I can understand why. Like, the Shadow Panic because he likes to say no words for giggles. No, I found him. I just wasn't reading very well. But yeah, the Death Guard have a lot of good miniatures. Not to mention the fact that they have a rolling debuff. You know, the closer they get to you, the more fucked you are, which is reflected in the lore. There's some combat scenes in Dark Imperium that I would not want to be part of the Ultramar fucking auxiliary. Like that, ugh. Fuck that job, dude. It's rough what gets described in that. It's kind of a, the thing about Nurgle is like, you could win a battle against him and you might still lose if enough dudes got infected and you didn't notice it. You're firing out of both ends if you stand within even 5 feet near a Plague Marine. Pretty much. Like, the way they describe how guardsman armor has to be sealed and double sealed. Just to be on a fucking firing line against them is absolutely insane. Like, I would not want to have to deal with that as a normal person. Now, normal Astartes don't have as many problems with it, because their armor is built in such a way that they're pretty well sealed up, especially the Mark 10 stuff. Oh, one thing I really liked that they did, and it seems like they're moving towards, is that they're going to start having more older helmets and stuff available for people to put on their miniatures. One thing that got established in Void Exile is that Mark 10 plate is compatible with previous armor sets. So as long as you can fit it properly, it will still work. But the Mark 10 is still like the base for it, if that makes any sense. To give you an example, I'll actually show you guys real quick. Because Baal Shar, you can see it on the cover of the book. So this is the cover of Void Exile. It's good old Baal Shar right here. He's still wearing the chest plate from the from his old armor. But it had to be fitted a bit differently. Because here's the old set. And he still wears this helmet too, this Mark III. Basically what they say is that the Mechanicus have to tinker with it a little bit to fix any compatibility issues that might spot up, but they can basically slap the old, like if they refit it, it works perfectly fine. God, that's a really good looking set of like captain's armor. I love the torn cape. I just love my shark boys. They're so great. Space Marine helmets are detachable? Yep. They can even be detached in sections. But from what I saw, they're now selling 40k Primaris heads. Why is somebody asking if someone asked for this? Where is it? I'm going to have to go to Games Workshop's website. They might be out of stock. But if you look at like some of the upgrades for certain chapters, they have older helmets. Where is it? Because I know the Raven Guard. Come on, website. Here it is. The Primaris upgrades for the Raven Guard actually has the beaky helmet. And then they're supposed to be coming out with a Primaris heads set that has like previous ones, like the Mark 7, the Mark 8. Which surgery do you believe is the most painful and dangerous to construct a space marine? Oh, it's the Belisarian furnace. Because the Belisarian furnace, they literally have to stop your heart to get it to work. And sometimes a marine just doesn't wake up. To double check, most played the faction of World Eaters. Really? I mean, World Eaters are fun. So I can't, I guess this shouldn't surprise me. The World Eaters, just like their strategy is just go in hard. Fuck it, just throw a bunch of dudes and rhinos and just goodness gracious. Why am I so tired? Right, because I woke up really fucking early. Well, what time is it? It is 8:45. I think we're going to close this down around 9 o'clock. So I'll answer these questions. Have I ever considered doing Armored Core lore? I'm not a big Armored Core fan, but if I ever get into it, I wouldn't be against it. At some point, Gundam I'm gonna run out of Gundam. At some point, it's gonna happen. So I'm going to start branching out into other things. That's why I did the Carcharodons video. Sadly, it didn't go anywhere, but well, I say that it got a couple thousand views. It's just like you compare it to my Gundam stuff and it underperformed. Because I think that like the Double Zeta video is probably over 1,000 views already. Let me have a look. Oh yeah, it's almost at 2,000 like in just a couple hours. Have I ever read Dune? I have not read it, but I have seen the movies, the most recent ones, and I really liked them. My thoughts on the Imperium Man when compared to them? There's an obvious inspiration there. The creators of 40K said that Dune was one of their biggest inspirations for the setting. And like the more you look at Dune, the more you see it. Especially in how the Imperium behaves and like their approach to technology and things like that. If you think about it, like a servitor is just a grimdark version of a mentat, in some ways. Have I ever considered reviewing Macross? Yes. I need to rewatch the original. That is going to be something I do over the winter. One thing that... something stuck in my tooth. One thing I want to do over the winter is I plan on just bundling up in the living room, Um, and chilling out on my couch and watching a couple of anime that I've never watched before, or just ones that I want to refresh. One that I haven't watched before is Turn A. Everybody's wanted me to talk about Turn A for a long time. I'm gonna finally watch it over the winter. I'm gonna do that one, and then I'm gonna rewatch the original Macross. How familiar are you with Warhammer Fantasy? I have a little familiarity. I'm not a big fan of it. There has never been a faction in fantasy that vibed with me, to be honest with you. Like there's a how do I put this? When I played Total War, I played Chaos. Specifically, I played Scarbrand, and that was it. And I sucked. I'm terrible at that game. So, but yeah, Warhammer Fantasy is kind of a weird one. From what I have, I do like Kislev. Don't get me wrong, Kislev's cool. I like bears. Polar bears are fucking cool. And I like leopards, you know. And I just like faux Russia. Like Kislev's kind of cool. I can get behind Kislev. I don't know as much about them as I would like to, but their little mini campaign in Total War was fun. I really like the idea of Richard Armitage being Be'lakor. Like that's a really good choice for him. Be'lakor is one of my favorite demons in Warhammer. Partially because there is a really badass Australian death metal band called Be'lakor, and that was how I started getting into it. But why I got into them. But I'm more of a science fiction guy. You know, it's just sort of my jam. And just Space Marines are cool. Did I play with Carl France today? Some of the electric counts. No, because I suck at Total War. That's the problem. I'm not good at it. So, and I didn't really take the time to get good. So I'm probably not going to pick up the game anymore. One of the streamers that I watch is really into it. So I'll probably just watch her play it more whenever she gets around to it. Because for those who don't know, I'm a fan of Cleo ID. She's great. But one thing that I hear is that Godric and Felix have done shit that, like, is worse than, in regards to power scaling, than what some named Space Marines have done, and people don't give them shit for it at all. And I think that's dumb. Yeah. I like dwarves, but come on. It's one of the funny things is like one of my two best friends is named Devin. Some of you who have been here for a long time will probably remember him. He's been on a couple streams before. Devin and I are kind of built very similar. But the difference is that, you know, I'm obviously a pretty tall guy. I'm 6'2". Devin is 5'6". So he, like, when he stands next to me, he looks like Gimli. So that's, I've always kind of like had an affection for dwarves because that's kind of him, in a sense. He's not like dwarf sized, but compared to me, he is. If he ever watches this, he's gonna text me and be like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yes, you're short. Shut up." Oh man. Yeah, gosh, I'm worn out. I got a lot of work done these last few days, so I was kind of glad to have a bit of time to just chill out. Though I didn't really get to playing any video games I wanted to. I'm kind of at a point where whenever I'm in here in my office, if I play a video game, it's something I can pick up and put down really quick. It's not something that I spend a lot of time playing because I want to get to work on something, right? Because like lately I've been, getting the print files for Cyber Pop Out and all this other shit, getting that fulfilled for everybody. So be on the lookout, by the way, guys. You're going to start getting those in December. If not by the end of the month. And then, Herbity Burble. Been busy with that. Been busy with video stuff. We're probably going to get one more video in the month. I don't know what I'm doing for Thanksgiving this year. So, I'll probably work ahead. But, the next video is another gag video. How many of you that are in chat right now, we've only got 22 people watching because it's getting late. How many of you in here love some Gundam Seed slander? Because I've got some Gundam Seed slander that's planned that is going to be really funny. But yes, we will be doing some Seed slander. It's gonna be glorious. Just the there was something that it's funny that Eco brings up bulls. I was talking with Shirt Dude, and I kind of realized that Gundam Seed has a fascination with cuckoldry. And I'm like, you know what? This would be a perfect slander series. Like, just perfect at fucking with people. Because it will, they're gonna look at this and just go, "Oh, fuck you," and then, yeah, it'll be really good. I dub the anime. Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is, find a image of the excuse me, the corner chair in a hotel room and put one of the Seed characters on it. just Just to drive the point home, you know? I think that'd be pretty funny. All right, guys, I'm exhausted. I am going to call it an evening. And get some sleep, because fuck me, dude. I'm exhausted. I ain't trimmed my hair too. But I appreciate all you guys coming by, hanging out. I do apologize for being very pissed off when I got started. But I had a lot on my mind. And hopefully as I calmed down, I made better arguments. But I'm going to get some, I'm going to lay down, get some sleep, and get back to work tomorrow and start working on the next video. So I appreciate you guys coming by, hanging out. Appreciate those of you who renewed your memberships and were liberal with your super chats. It's always appreciated. Definitely helps. Because, views are down for everybody right now on YouTube. So months like this, when people are like that generous, it kind of hits like right here, you know? So I appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out with me tonight. I'll try to be back more often. Try to keep a consistent streaming schedule. And yeah, I appreciate all of you. Have yourselves a good night, and I will see you on the next one.